Now, what kind of video are you expecting today? I'm out in the garden, but it's not a gardening video. In fact, I wanted to share with you my thrift haul. I'm filming this video at the end of the bank holiday weekend, and I have been to 3 flower festivals. I'm not going to show you the flower festivals, or at least not in this video, but I thought you'd like to see what I picked up at the bric-a-brac stores at the flower festivals. And if you love a bit of thrifting, a bit of charity shopping, a bit of rummaging in vintage and antique shops, this is the video for you. And if it's right up your street, why don't you subscribe to my channel? If you look underneath the video, you'll see that big red button that says subscribe. All you need to do is tap the subscribe button, and that means next time you open the YouTube app on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, you will have my next video popping up for you to watch. Hello there, I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops, and Flowers start the online flower arranging classes. So if you enjoy flower arranging, crafting, a little bit of gardening and getting a bargain at the charity shop, you're in just the right place. You know how it is, you know your local area really well, and then you have to travel a whole 28 miles away to get to a flower festival, and you have to rely on sat-nav, and every time you do, sat-nav takes you to that same place in a slightly different way. And that was exactly what happened this weekend. Ended up on a really narrow country lane with weeds growing out of the tarmac, and we were slightly worried we were going in totally the wrong direction. But as luck would have it, we passed Station Antiques on the way to the flower festival. So it was a win-win situation, flower festival and a bonus antique shop. So the flower festival at Appledore runs across the 3 days of bank holiday weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And if you'd like to find out more about last year's flower festival, I'll be sure to leave a link to the video that I filmed this time last year, which takes you on an in-depth tour of all the fabulous exhibits. And let me tell you that this year's flower festival didn't disappoint. Last year I went with my friend on bank holiday Monday, and we were just overjoyed to see the fabulous bric-a-brac store. So this year we decided to go on day 1 and see what treasures we could find. Now, when we got there, I was busy looking around for prices, but there were huge notices everywhere saying by donation. So I filled up my shopping bag, made my donation, and went away very happy. And on that subject, why don't you guess how much I spent across the whole of the thrift haul that I'm going to share with you? And the first thing I bought was this little glass bowl, pressed glass with a serrated edge around the top and little raised details around the edges. Now, when I've got this home, I've realised there's a few chips across the top, and I'm not sure whether it was like that when I bought it, because I was pretty excited to see this, or whether it was me damaging it. My bag did clonk at several times, so I'm thinking I'm going to use this. Actually, when I look at it, there's a little number in here, R533040. Oh, registered RD 533040. I'll have to remember to look that up and see if I can find out a little bit more about the maker. So I'm going to use this not for eating trifle from, but for flower arranging. And this would be a great dish to look out for if you're thinking of going foam free. A little raised dish, a compote bowl, and then you could use your scrunched up chicken wire, tape it in place, and then you've got a firm base through which you can arrange your flowers. Cookbook, anyone? Now, I'm not actually going to use this cookbook stand as a cookbook stand. I have had this idea, which I saw on YouTube, of somebody who was making more of a show of their coffee table books. And this particular lady, I think she had a wooden stand for her really lovely books, a lectern almost. And I've been looking out for a wooden lectern, and I've seen one in an antique shop for £75, and I didn't want to spend that much money. So I was looking for a heavy duty cookbook stand. I don't really like the fact this says cookbook, but I thought this would be a good halfway house to test out whether I would actually use it as I had intended in my mind. And so far it's worked okay, although the only thing I would say is reasonably sturdy. I don't really like the bit at the back where you can see it says cookbook. It's got a nice wide trough with this upstand at the end, but the book I had in mind, because I wanted to display my coffee table books, you know, sort of turning the pages over so I could become inspired and, you know, not, as I sometimes do, I buy the book, I flick through it at the time and then I never really look at it again. So it was trying to be a way that I could have my books in front of me without having to physically sit down and read them, and then I could turn the page, you know, every day and learn something new. What I've discovered though is the book that I was displaying on this was quite chunky, as coffee table books are, and I have managed to, well, break the spine of the book. Not actually broken, but it's just probably forced more open than I would naturally have wanted it to do, because it's been lying flat and pinned in place. So that's made me really finesse what I'm looking for, and I think what I am looking for is a more substantial wooden lectern recipe book holder, but one of the ones that aren't flat, they've sort of got that bend in them. So, you know, when you watch documentaries and the historians go to an old library, not only do they put their gloves on, but they look at the books and they're sort of on this cushion, but the books only open sort of 3/4 of the way up, they don't flop down. So I think that's what I'm actually looking for, a shaped book holder where it's just at this sort of 45-degree angle, no, it's longer than that. If 180 is flat, you know, perhaps even, you know, a 100-degree angle, something like that, 120-degree. We're getting a bit technical there, aren't we? I also picked up this lovely book, The Treasury of Flowers by Alice M. Coates, published in association with the Royal Horticultural Society, the RHS. I'm just wondering actually when this book was published. It's got 119 illustrations, including 33 in colour. It's always so exciting when that really dates the book, doesn't it, when they get excited about how many colour pictures they've got. It said it was first published in 1975, which you would think would be quite late for a book to be printed in colour. I'm thinking this will be a really interesting book to read, but also because some of the pictures are absolutely beautiful, I'm just wondering whether I could carefully cut them out and put them in the frame, or perhaps even make them into greetings cards. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Would you cut a book up much like you would a magazine? I'll have to have a think about that. I then picked up this little wooden bowl. So it's oval in shape, it's quite lightweight, but I thought it would be quite handy as a catch-all tray. And as we're heading into the autumn season, and above me, actually you can see them, there's some grapes here. I wonder whether I dare cut some off and put them in the dish and just do a little autumn display. There, you get the idea? Or of course I could use it as a fruit bowl. I've picked up some napkins as well. There's actually 6 of them, but we're using 3 of them at the moment. So I've already washed and ironed these. They are blue and white. I must admit my eyes have been open to blue and white because I'm a huge fan of Lady Mary Beth's channel, and she loves everything blue and white and with a chinoiserie look. So this isn't chinoiserie, it's more of a batik look. I don't think it has been batik though, I think it's been printed on. So I'm going to hold 4 of these back to use on our table, but with the other 2, I'm thinking that I might use them for a crafting project. My friends and I are thinking of making rag wreaths. Now I'm sure I've made one on my YouTube channel before, and if I have, I will link the DIY instructions in the description underneath the video. And actually, if you're a member of my Facebook group, Flower Start World, I'm absolutely certain there's a video in there that you could watch. So I'm also thinking of perhaps making a blue and white rag wreath. It then means I've got the excuse, or I can add to my shopping list, to get small blue and white plates from the charity shop and car boot sales. And actually when I was ironing these napkins, I thought, why don't I iron the tea towels? This is a very rare occasion. The tea towels which we use for drying our dishes. And then I was looking through and thinking, well, how often do I actually hand wash and hand dry things, because we normally use the dishwasher. And I've previously curated all my tea towels. They are all blue and white, and some are a little bit older than others, so I'm thinking that I might start collecting blue and white linens, but perhaps I could recycle some of my older tea towels and cut those up as well to make a rag wreath. So watch this space and let's see whether I actually do it. But in the meantime, I'm happy to use these on my breakfast table. And I also picked up this paperweight in celebration of the Queen's Silver Jubilee. I've been really drawn to everything Silver Jubilee at the moment. Perhaps it's with the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, obviously her funeral, and then the King's coronation. I'm just opening my eyes up a little bit, but I think probably it's the nostalgia element. I was 11 years old in 1977 when she celebrated her Jubilee. I just think it reminds me of happy family times. So the flower festival we went to was held in Appledore, which is just the most beautiful English country village. You could almost imagine a Miss Marple or, you know, an Agatha Christie murder mystery being filmed there. Absolutely beautiful. And one place I definitely wanted to go back to was the little antique shop over the road from the church. So you may remember in my last thrift haul video I showed you one of these plates, and I did say that I'd found them quite useful, and I was hoping to go back to this antique shop and pick up the rest in the pile, and luckily for me no one else wanted them. And you're probably thinking, oh, why on earth do you want so many plates, Julie? Well, what I'm doing with them is using them as sources for my vintage vases I collect. I've discovered that the vintage vases aren't always watertight, so they don't flood out water. They sort of ooze and leak over time. And I found this colour to be quite a good colour match for a lot of my vases. It goes well with the greens and also the whites too. So I will be pretty much using those as coasters to protect my polished surfaces, which means that I can put all my vintage vases I found in charity shops, vintage sales, to good use without worrying that they're going to leak all over the place. And do you remember this vase? You've previously seen it in the thrift haul video. I got it and several other magnificent vases at a car boot sale. So do you remember me saying at the beginning of the video that on the way to Appledore, the sat-nav took us a really bizarre way and we passed Station Antiques. Now I thought that was the antique shop I'd already flagged up we could go and visit, but it turned out it wasn't, so we actually ended up visiting two antique centres. And at the Station Antiques I didn't actually buy anything, but it was well worth a visit. So if you're in the area, the Station Antiques is right next to Appledore train station, and we went straight upstairs. Downstairs was furniture. We went straight upstairs to the smaller items and spotted red and white transferware at the top of the staircase, and also some of the amber brown Davison cloud glass, which is very similar to my own cloud glass. That's what I love about going to these vintage and antique stores. It's a bit like playing mix and match. We found one cloud glass in one booth and another set of cloud glass in another, but it's certainly a place that I've definitely got on my list to go back to. So then we hopped back in the car and then we went on to the what was this one called? The chap who ran it was a very charming gentleman called John Ruler, and I'd spotted an article in my most recent edition of Homes and Antiques, and he has a tiny antique shop at the little hamlet of Ebony. So is it called the Ebony Old School Antiques? John was absolutely charming, and his shop, tiny shop that used to be the old village school, was beautifully starred with all sorts of gardinalia, bits and bobs. And as it happened, he was the key holder for the little church over the road. So he showed us the big old key and he said, you ought to pop over because, and I'm not quite sure I got the story straight here, Donald Sinden, the actor, do you remember him? The only thing I can remember him in is Doctor in the House. Now he said that Donald Sinden, the famous actor in the 50s, 60s, 70s, lived in the local area, and I think there was a book sale. Each book was £1, and I don't know if I got this muddled up, but my friend and I both came away thinking that these were books from Donald Sinden's library. So we spent, I don't know how long we were in there, flicking through all the books, and John had told us that one of the books had been sent to Donald Sinden and was signed by the actress Ellen Terry. We didn't find it, but we did find some lovely books, and we made our donations at £1 a time. I got myself 3 books, this pair here, which is Boswell's Johnson. I got volumes 1 and 2 and volumes 9 and 10, and I picked them because I really like the marbling effect here. And inside it says Thomas Scott. Now I can't read, I think it must be where he lives. Oh, actually, yes, I think I have got this right. I've been puzzling over what this says. I can read that it says Wappenham, Wappenham, and I've just clicked that when I looked up Wappenham, I think the next word is actually Northampton, and it says the book is dated from 1840 and rebound in 1858, I think that is. And actually, there were some of the books that were showing some wear on the spine, and I'm wondering now whether I should have picked those up instead of the sort of more perfect looking ones, because you could see the spine was starting to come off, but the underlayer of the spine looked like it was the pages from a newspaper. And then on a crafting theme, I've got the AA Illustrated Road Book of England and Wales, and this dates from 1960. And I was showing this to a friend. I was giving her a video clip of it, and she said, oh, is it an AA book? And I said no, and it's only just now that I've noticed it's got AA emblazoned right on the cover. So again, I have bought this purely for crafting, and no doubt for, you know, a little bit of a walk down memory lane to see how it records places that I'm familiar with. So it's a mix of text and line drawings, black and white maps, and also some colour maps as well. So I'm going to enjoy poring over that, and if I do decide to use this for crafting, or perhaps even card making, or adding little gift tags to presents, I could pick out a picture or description of a place that is personal to the person I'm giving the gift to. The paper's got such a lovely feel to it, nice and aged. So I'm going to enjoy cutting this one up. So from Appledore to Ebony, we then drove out through Tenterden to a small village of Rolvenden, and I don't think I've ever been there before either. A beautiful village with a little high street, and when all the houses seem to be white painted boarding, and then the church rising up above with a clock tower that said 12 o'clock. It stopped because we got there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the first thing we did was dive into the village hall and have a little bit of an afternoon tea or a very late lunch. And lo and behold, there was a bookstore. So it was hardback books for £1 and softback books for 50p. So I bought myself 2. The first one is Shane Connolly's Wedding Flowers. And you might know Shane Connolly. He is the florist that did the wedding flowers for Kate and William, but he's very much in the forefront now of foam-free flowers in church. So I don't do weddings anymore, but I do teach flower arranging classes, and I think it's always nice to have a little bit of inspiration that you can flick back through. These kind of books date a little bit over time. You'll always find something that will inspire you, an idea that will spark another idea, and techniques that you can update and adapt. So I'm going to enjoy looking through that, and it's going to go on my bookshelf to inspire me for my next set of DIY wedding flower classes. Oh, I'm just looking up the author of this. I had assumed this book was by Paula Pryke or Jane Packer. It's certainly got the look of it. It's called Simple Chic Flowers, Ideas for Every Room in Your House by Jane Durridge and Antonia Swinson. And actually, if I can find these books on Amazon, I'll link them in the description of this video. If you like what you see, you might want to buy your own copy. But again, this is a lovely coffee table style book. So this book was published 20 years ago in 2003. So some of it, you know, a little bit dated in style, but again, there's always an idea that you can pick up on here, things to adapt, you know, a collection of glasses to use as bud vases. I've been doing that with the scientific flasks and beakers I've been collecting. So there's always a little bit of something to inspire and intrigue. The third flower festival we went to was actually in Tenterden High Street, or right off the High Street, St Mildred's Church. And we only got word of it because we'd met another flower arranger at the first flower festival, and she gave us like the secret whispers about where on the trail we should go next. So we'd originally intended to go out to 2 flower festivals, and we ended up visiting 3. So this flower festival was absolutely beautiful. There was no bric-a-brac store though, but what we did do was walk up the church tower. We did take the opportunity of checking out a couple of the charity shops in town. Now, I didn't buy anything, but my friend did. So as you can see, we had a fabulous day searching through the bric-a-brac stores and those 2 vintage shops. And on Sunday, I went out to a local car boot fair with my husband and struck gold. Ta-da! It may look like an ordinary tray to you, but I have been looking for one of these breakfast trays for absolutely ages. I'm not envisaging breakfast in bed. What I do like to do on sunny days is take a rug out onto the garden and have a cup of tea, which always falls over. So now I can be more elegant and take my tea out into the garden and have a little tea tray to my side. So I paid £2 for this tray. There was a tiny bit of damage. Well, the fixings had come loose at the corner, and when I was cleaning up I found a couple of stickers. It's come from Dunelm and originally cost £15. I'm thinking that I might actually do some crafting on this. I've bought some really high quality wrapping paper which I can't quite bear to use, so I'm thinking I might put the wrapping paper in the bottom just to give it my own personal twist. If crafting puts you off, don't turn off, because I have got the most fabulous find to show you next at the car boot sale. Now, I know I said at the beginning of the video, can you guess how much I spent on everything that I'm going to show you today? And spoiler alert, I'm so excited. I spent 50p on this next item. So perk your ears up, have a look out and share the joy with me. I bought myself some green glass. My husband and I zipped up the lines for the car boot fair. It was the biggest car boot fair I had seen. A combination of the bank holiday weekend and really good weather had brought out all the stall holders, and the car park for the buyers was chock-a-block. So I was walking up and down the aisles. Some people have their wares on tables, others have them on ground sheets on the floor, and I just caught the glimpse of this green glass, and I am rather partial to green glass. And as I was walking by, I thought, I wonder whether that's Bagley glass. So I don't know whether you've seen the video when I went with a friend to the Antiques and Vintage event at Detling Hill, our local showground here in Kent, and I'd never heard of Bagley glass before. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's all coloured glass in the 30s and 40s. Was that all made by Bagley? I'm not quite sure. I'm not an expert here. Don't really know what I'm talking about. But I think, but that's my understanding, that Bagley was a big manufacturer of coloured glass during the 30s and 40s. And what I noticed when I went to the vintage and antiques market at Detling was that the glassware seemed to come in, you know, you got the vase, but you also sort of got a sort of plinth that the vase sat in. So you might have a very ordinary looking vase, but a figurine of a lady, and then a sort of a whole glass platter that everything sat on. So I thought, I wonder whether this is one of these Bagley combos. You know, you got a 3-in-1 setting. But then I had a closer look, and I thought I recognised the distinctive swirls of cloud glass, so I paid my 50p. And then when I got home, I did a bit of Googling, and I think this is, in fact, Bagley glass, and I've seen it for sale on Etsy, or sold on Etsy. exactly the same thing for £25. So not a bad investment on my 50p, or actually 25p, because I've ended up buying 2 items overall. So I've got this little fluted vase, and it's got like a starburst pattern on the bottom and these little sort of ridges going up. It almost looks like you could use that as a sundae glass. And then the little flower frogs with the 7 openings, and it's quite a detailed flower frog. It's got ridges all the way around the outside edge, a bit like the shape of a serrated pastry cutter. So I thought I would make use of this. It's already been washed, it was a little bit dirty, and I thought I would just arrange a few simple flowers in the garden through the holes. So the flower frog rests at the top with holes right the way through. Sometimes they're sealed in at the bottom, so I'll be able to slide my flower stems through those holes and it will hold them up in place. And I've already told you that this is Davison glass. It's the Posy bowl design, so it's got a little well here, and you could imagine how it was made. Probably started off with a flat end here, a flat edge here, but it comes down and then this rim kicks back up. So I've seen these for sale as well, but with the flower frog, and they were going with the flower frog for £40. So I think that's going to be my next challenge, a really specific buying list to see whether I can get a flower frog that would fit inside there. I've measured the distance across the bottom and it's 6.7 centimetres. Does that equate to about 3 inches? Because the flower frogs go up in sizes. Most of mine seem to be 2 inches or 4 inches, so I'll certainly be double checking on an imperial ruler what size this is and looking out for the matching flower frog. So I bought the 3 individual items for 50p, and combined, without the glass insert here, I reckon probably I've converted that to £40 worth. Not a bad deal. After all that excitement of showing you what I bought over the weekend, I forgot the biggest item, so I didn't buy this. So you'll have to adjust your calculations on how much you think I spent over the course of the weekend. So this is a log basket which I got free on Facebook. We have community pages in town and you can ask for things or people offer things up. And I'm not going to use it as a log basket. I'm going to use it as a rather upmarket basket for collecting the weeds in my garden. For those of you who are following along with my novice attempts at gardening, I'm trying to have a cutting patch, and I am rather cheekily calling myself a flower farmer because I've managed to cut 2 bunches of flowers. So instead of putting my weeds into a little plastic bucket before I go take them off to the compost heap, I just thought it would look more purposeful and perhaps I would enjoy things a little bit more if I had nice looking garden equipment. So expect to see this in one of my gardening videos soon. I've also got a couple of extra things to show you. I bought myself another flower frog. I don't have one in that particular colour or size, and looking at it now, it says made in England, and it's got 4 little knobbly feet to stop it scratching the bottom of your vase. And at the beginning of August we had our regular annual Faversham Safari, and I think there are about 200 stalls of people setting up a little sales area in their front gardens, a garage sale I suppose you'd call it. And I bought myself this pair of pheasants. They look metallic but they're really lightweight, and I've been enjoying those on my mantelpiece, but I thought they would make quite nice centerpieces from autumn table setting. So yes, you can see they're pheasants, and yes, they'll be great for autumn, but my husband and daughter insist on calling them the pigeons, and they can't stand them. Now a little bonus item here. I didn't buy this at the car boot sale or the vintage shops I visited this weekend. This is a little holiday souvenir. So we went on holiday to the New Forest a few weeks ago, and of course I cannot resist going to the charity shops. And this happens to be a Copeland Spode Italian serving dish. And I've got a pair of these at £5 each, and I've already put them to good use. I would show you the other one, but that's already been washed up and put away. I hope you've enjoyed today's thrifting video. Let me know in the comments how much you think I spent this weekend so you can exclude the Spode bowl from your calculations. And before I go, I'll just remind you about my Facebook group. It's free to join. You can either search Flower Start World or click the link in the description underneath this video. It's the place where you can share your flower arranging themed thrifted finds or your latest flower arrangements. And if you haven't done so already, how about joining my YouTube membership group? That's where I upload my weekly videos and you can watch them early and advert free. Membership of the group includes lots of perks, including free access to my monthly Zoom flower class. And if you want to know more about that, why don't you let me know in the comments underneath this video and I'll come back to you with some more information. That's all from me for now, and I'll see you again next time.